Dr. Steiner and Dr. Jansen, our guests from the EVZ and the US State Department. Thank you so much for being here. And my dear, dear Muslim Jewish Conference family, welcome. 17th July 2014, Staten Island, New York. I can't breathe. These were Eric Garner's last words. 6 months ago yesterday, the Taliban murdered 132 young school boys between the ages of 8 and 18 in my country. People called it the 9/11 of Pakistan, and there was outrage and anger and disbelief amongst all quarters. But I didn't even have a word. I didn't know what to say. The day of the Peshawar siege, I actually went to the theater with a friend and pretended like I didn't know what happened. The next morning, I woke up, paralyzed, unable to move, unable to stand, unable to breathe. How do you breathe with a heart that has holes shot through it? How do you pump air from lungs that were crushed? So brutally, so ruthlessly, how? 16th December 2015, a little bit of Pakistan died. As my good friend Henry Chim puts it, it was like imagining 100 candles, all being blown out at once, all leaving us with nothing but darkness, nothing but empty space. Grief, the deep kind of grief, has this uncanny way of paralyzing us. We start believing that we're powerless. We start believing that we ought to do nothing because nothing we do can ever make a difference. But as history has shown, it is not the perpetrator of violence that is the most dangerous. It is in fact the bystanders, the silent bystanders that are lethal. Be it the Holocaust, be it the genocide in Srebrenica, be it the Hutus and Tutsis slaughtering one another, even the ones they call family. But somehow it's never too close to home it's never too real unless it hits close to home, right? And so for me, that's the story of my grandfather, my Nana. In the late 1960s, he was the zonal chief for Habib Band in what was then known as East Pakistan. And he was a North Indian immigrant who came to Pakistan during partition, lived with his family, 6 kids in Karachi. And when the 1970s, early 1970s, there was news of war, civil war breaking out. And he says, no way I'm coming right now. I'm in Dhaka. This is home. What are you talking about? This is home. This is where I have friends. This is where I work. This is fine. One fine day, though, in mid-1971, one of these friends did indeed show up at his doorstep to warn him that the guerrilla army is looking for him, and they're not just looking to have chai. He ran. He ran for his life from Dhaka to Chittagong, and he was hoping he'd cross the Indian border and flee to safety. But by that time, the Indian armed forces had in fact joined the war and were now fighting against Pakistan. He ran still, and this one time he finds himself in the woods and he's running, and he runs into the Pakistan armed forces. And a soldier says to him, he says, run away. There's nothing here. Just go. Leave now. And he runs and he doesn't look back. And a couple of moments later, he looks back and suddenly there's this huge blast and there's smoke, and it's coming from where he was moments ago with the Pakistani soldiers. He doesn't know, he keeps running, and suddenly he feels this pang in his leg, and a bullet has found its home. He keeps moving, keeps trying to run, and eventually blacks out. And when he gains consciousness, he realizes he's being looked down upon by an officer of the Indian Army. He's a Sikh general, and he's asking him his name. And he's dazed, and he reveals, yeah, this is my name, this is my neighborhood, this is where I come from. And a few moments later, the same officer hurriedly asks his deputies, hurry up, bring over the paperwork, take his prints, do this, do that. And my Nana, he's so confused, and suddenly he hears men in the background, and they're saying, but he's ours. We demand his hand over immediately. And there's these men protesting in the background, men sharing his fate. asking for his life. And he hears the army officer say, no, this man is a prisoner of war of the Indian Army under the Geneva Conventions. He will not be given over to you. He will remain in our custody as per the law. 2 years later, my Nana made it back home. It was then that his wife and his children found out that Colonel Singh's family had been neighbors with them in Incholi in India. And that had it not been for him taking him prisoner of war and making his family's life miserable for the last 2 years, he wouldn't have survived. He would have been taken by the guerrilla forces and found his way into a mass grave, never to have been heard of again. We keep saying we'll never forget, and somehow it feels like it's almost inadvertently what we keep doing. And I feel that it's been far too long. It's been far too long that we've chosen to be paralyzed by our grief. And it's been far too long that we've decided to lose hope and give up our ability to act, to speak, to breathe. No more. We cannot choose to be the living dead no more. Now is the time for action. This is a call for action. This week, you have been beckoned. You have been beckoned to take upon one of the most difficult tasks you will. You have been asked to act. But in order to act, you must learn. And in order to learn, you must first listen. And so, this week I urge you more than anything, please listen, reflect, absorb. And once you've done that, act, move, breathe like you've never breathed before. And decide that it is now. Never again are we going to allow this. And do it with the knowledge that you're not doing this to change the world. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. There's something very beautiful that the Talmud says, and I love this. It says, do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. So act now, no matter how small, how insignificant you think the consequences will be, you must act now. As Gandhiji so rightly put it, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. There is no other way. And it is because I could not stand still anymore that 6 Muslim Jewish conferences ago yesterday, I actually wrote to the MJC team and I said, you know what? You've altered my life irrevocably. And I'd like to join you. And that day and today, I've never looked back. And I don't intend to. I've constantly meet people from around the world who, when they hear, oh, there is a Muslim Jewish conference, they're like, what on earth is that? What do you guys even do? And when I tell them, are you sure it's making any impact? I mean, how do you know it's not a lot of kumbaya? For the last 5 years, I keep telling them, look, the conference has managed to bring together over 550 Muslim and Jewish youth from over 50 countries in the world. We have been grappling with some of the most pressing challenges facing humanity today, as well as our own communities collectively and individually. Some of these include battling hate speech, resolving conflict through non-violent means, living as minorities facing anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim racism, issues of gender inclusion, halal and kosher, but also issues that touch both communities very deeply. Issues like the Arab-Israeli conflict, right at the instance of war. But from where I stand, this is all numbers, right? And I'm not a numbers person, God help me. From where I stand, let me tell you what I've seen in terms of my own life and the Muslim Jewish conference and its impact on me. This weekend, we lit the candles to welcome the Shabbat Queen. And in my heart, I felt the air again. In my lungs, the ability to hold oxygen. In my life, the ability to breathe, to move, to do. And more than anything, to hope again. to believe again, to know that in the darkest of places, there will always be people who will choose to stand with you, who will choose to shine the light on you, who will pay no heed to the color of your skin, the clothes that you wear, the language that you speak, or the number of times in a day that you pray. If they pay heed to anything, it will probably be the twinkle in your eyes, your silly lopsided smile, the way you hold their hands when you meet them, and the number of times you've taken a deep breath today. I do order this 5. It's funny when you're living the life of a nomad. I've been doing that for about 2 years now. You're grateful for the days that you're showering in your own bathroom. It's nice. And human geography becomes a term that is increasingly relevant to you. And when people ask you, where's home, you struggle a little bit. I found some answers, and one of them was that, home is where my clothes are. And that eventually ended up being like multiple cities across different continents because I keep forgetting things. And I thought, okay, I have another one. Home is where your toothbrush is. And then I started carrying the toothbrush in my purse all the time because I didn't know where I'd be staying. And then I decided, okay, here's a good one. This is profound. This is deep, right? Home is where I'm loved the most. But that's all of you all over the world. And so eventually last September, we were working in the Karakorams in Hunza. Beautiful place. We were sitting and looking at the stars and having shisha, because that's how it is in Pakistan. It was then that I realized that home is in moments and home is in people. And home is in my MJC family. It is an Elia telling me 5 years ago that he knows how to spell Mohiuddin, my middle name. It is in Ben Rosen's parents meeting mine on Skype because we couldn't not talk every week now that we knew we existed. He's Canadian, I'm Pakistani. Home is Auntie Kargai tying up my hair every morning because I broke my right hand before flying into Kiev for the second MJC. Home is Jane Bread and our 10 grade now for 5-minute massage chairs in the woods in the hotel in Kiev. Home is an Olive Branch wife who's always a call away, always my shoulder when I need it the most. Home's in Dasha, who is my instantaneous comic relief and constantly telling me that we will all eventually die, so it's all okay. Don't worry about it. But ladies and gentlemen, home is here. Home is now. Home is never and yet home is always, if you choose to see it and if you choose to be it. So I urge you, please, this week, this day, this moment, be each other's home. Now, always. Don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about how we will change the world or how many lives we need to change before we reach our pre-established KPIs and ROIs. No. Just remember your part. Just remember your role. Be that hopelessly romantic, optimistic bird that carries like a drop of water in its beak and keeps going back and forth trying to quench the forest fire. Be that bird. And beyond that, leave it to him. This morning we were having breakfast and with such amazing committee participants this year. And I was telling them, I've stopped planning. I used to be this crazy planner. I'd have everything down to the date. And I stopped planning. I have a vague idea of what I'm doing 6 months from now. I have, some wishes that I wish to happen in the next 5 years. And beyond that, it's Allah Tawakkal. And Tawakkal is this term which essentially means that, God's got your back. And that He will never abandon you because His love transcends all other imaginable love. And so He reminds us, in fact, in the Quran, that when He first saved Muslims, the very first Muslims from being completely annihilated by the Meccans, He says, and remember, when those who believed were plotted against by those who disbelieved, who tried to restrain you, or kill you, or evict you, but they planned, and then Allah plans. And Allah is the best of planners. So He's the best of planners, and His love transcends all, then why do we worry exactly? Just be. Just breathe. A very warm welcome to all of you, to the MJC family. Welcome home.